right, tonight on Game Night, it's our very special annual wrap-up of the Spiel des Jahres games, featuring Nikki, Aaron, Lincoln, Rusty, and myself, Dave. And these 6 games right here, as you see in front of us, we have played each one of those. There is a separate video for all of them. You have likely watched that already, but if not, I'm sure the links are here on this video as well. Whether you've watched them or not, we're going to discuss the games anyway. So here we go.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, Lincoln?
Oh, never mind.
Okay. We're going to talk about the Spiel des Jahres games. The 3. Here are the 3 that are nominated right here. Pandemic, Legacy, T.I.M.E Stories, Skye for the Kennerspiel. We'll come back to those. We'll start with the main prize, the main Spiel des Jahres. Codenames, Karuba, and Imhotep. And Aaron, why don't you start us off with Imhotep?
I like this game quite a bit. I feel like it's the most straightforward Euro of this group of 3. I didn't play it on the show with you guys, so some of your opinions are going to be new to me about it, but I played it separately. It has one thing that I really like where you guys probably showed but didn't play the opposite sides of the boards where the points score differently on each area. And that creates something that I mention a lot on the show is I like a game that's different from play to play. And so you use the B sides of the board or even just a couple of them and you mix up the way that the game plays. I also like that it's fairly straightforward. It's not going to take you more than an hour. It's pretty easy to teach and I'm interested to see if Dave has the criticism that I thought he did of it, but it's something that keeps everybody engaged during the whole game, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's a solid game.
Cool. Nikki, what do you think?
I agree with Aaron in that it's the most Euro of the 3 games. It's also in, I want to say, even though Codenames is dealing with words and things, it's almost like the most adult sort of game.
Okay.
I guess because it's the cubes and it's the more thinky, kind of numbery, weighing the odds business. But I love the little boats going, and you could get totally messed up with where you put your cubes and how that plays out for the game.
Cool.
So Imhotep I liked from the beginning. We played it in April early on when nobody even knew what was going on with it, and I really thought it was great. And it is again the most Euro of the bunch. But the more I play this game, and the more I watched it a lot because I edited the video. I think this is a great group of games, so it's going to be super tough. But this one is got a lot going on. There's a lot of interesting things. So it seems like familiar to you. You play it, you're like, oh, I get this. This seems like a game I've played before. But there's more to it than that. There is some. The sailing the boats thing, I love that there's a chance you could get screwed. There's the tension that I think Rusty mentioned in our video for it. That can I risk taking a chance waiting for that to happen? Do I really care whether that boat goes someplace specific?
Right.
And that is really, really powerful.
What I like about Imhotep is, like you were mentioning, the risk, but there's multiple different paths of risks in this, in that you have different choices that can pay off in different fashions in comparison to such as Codenames or Karuba. You have choices that you have to walk down the paths on that may help other people or may hurt other people. So this gives a little more of that interaction between the players, in my opinion. And that gives it a definite boost in my...
I think the criticism you were referring to before was my not owning a ship?
No, it was having to keep an eye on what everyone does.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I have
all
definitely.
Players must play.
I pulled back from that. What Aaron was referring to was I have a slight pet peeve about games in which I feel like everyone has to pay attention. In which I can do the most brilliant moves possible, and I can still lose the game because Aaron does something that just throws it to Rusty, because Aaron's not paying attention to what Rusty needs to be doing.
Right.
Or like, you need to stop him so he can stop him so that my little plan can work, type of thing. But I've backed off that a little because you're talking about you can get screwed, and you absolutely can if you don't go to the place you can, but you don't get entirely hosed, and that's the thing that I actually find I like now about this, is that there is something to be said for almost any island is good.
Yeah.
It's just some are really better. In some cases, some are really better, and those are the times when you have to commit.
Are they really islands, though?
No, I always refer to it as
Destinations or regions.
This game showed up on Brett Spielwelt, and where it's played often as a 2 and a 3 player game, and I have come to consequently also appreciate it more because of that. I don't know if it's Brett Spielwelt groupthink, but in a 2-player game or in a 3-player game, people there are temple crazy. Which the temple was like the one
least,
thing
yeah.
we
Yeah.
avoided probably.
The one down at the bottom with the...
The temple. No,
Oh,
the
no,
temple is the one that
that's-
scores
that's
every
the burial
turn.
chamber.
Yeah.
Which
The temple is the one that scores every turn by the cubes you can see from above. And on the A side, it seemed to be the most least interesting thing.
Yeah.
But even on the A side, that would be 3 high on Brett Spielwelt, which is fascinating. Because I don't know if it's groupthink, or I don't know if it's in a 2 or 3 player game, that's a more viable spot.
Maybe.
Because
'Cause
you're
your
less
stuff's gonna
likely to
last
be
longer.
covered.
So you're
There are
getting
still
yourself-
4 boats in a 2-player and a 3-player game, but there aren't as many, right?
Right.
So I like this more. I think it's still my least favorite of the 3, though, and that's actually a compliment because all of these 3 are pretty
Amazing.
terrific.
Yeah.
I felt that part of the reason Imhotep is here was because Phil Walker Harding did not get a nomination for Cacao.
Yeah.
Which to me seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it was going to win, but it seemed like it would be one of the
would be in
3.
there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And interestingly enough, even though it doesn't play like Cacao, Karuba also has sort of that, for me, it fulfills that kind of Cacao niche.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
when Nikki and I played this with Aldi, I was like, wow, this is a nominee. I mean, I felt positive
Right.
that it was a nominee. And I don't usually get that correct. I mean, I'm not clued into what those guys are doing, but it is absolutely a nominee. And I think it's got a lot going for it.
Well, this almost has a
But
hidden
it's-
rule,
but it's
which is
almost-
don't play it with Lincoln.
Yeah.
You are so
good
You
at
are
those
so good at this game. So
spatial,
clearly you connected
arrangements.
with it. What is it you like about this? Tell me. 'Cause
I actually I love that aspect of it,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've boned it. I mean, you can't always. You're risking. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, do I want to move or do I want to place? And in that game, I feel you need to give yourself options. So if you don't give escape routes for your explorers to even start moving, you're gonna have problems. You have to be able to go, this is not what I need to move this guy.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect. I also love the decisions, like, do I stop? Do I take less space? Do I move less for this one to pick up that gem?
Right.
Do I worry about that gem? And then there's the whole race thing. I mean, it is sort of solitaire in ways, except for the interaction with the 5, 4, 3, 2
Right.
temple claims. And those are, you have to pay attention to those. Those are still big points.
It's less solitaire than Take It Easy.
Absolutely.
Which the system certainly
Similarly,
feels
yeah,
like.
yeah, absolutely.
But what
But-
do you think, Rusty?
Well, I love the puzzle aspect of this.
Yeah.
It's that really appeals to me. The ability that I don't necessarily have to look at my opponent's boards to worry about what they're doing, but at the same time I do have to, which
Well,
will weigh my decision, because if they're getting ready to pounce on the pink temple, I need to make sure that, okay, well, I can do that in 2 turns, they can do it in 3. I need to not move my other
Right.
adventure. I need to do this turn. And it
Or
will actually
just
wait.
ignore the pink temple for
Or
a while.
give up on
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Just
Or
go
give up
somewhere
on it.
else.
And I've had times where I've actually wound up forcing myself having to
the
give up on
funniest
it.
thing about looking at other people's is how often they're doing the exact same thing you are for the beginning. You're like looking, you're like 5 turns in a row, you're all doing exactly the same
exact
thing.
path,
You're like,
yeah.
wow,
That
that is
happens in
bizarre.
those games too, though.
I
You
know.
played Werfel Bingo, where like 7
Yeah.
gets rolled, and you look over, and everybody's put it in the middle. All right. Aaron, what do you think?
This is the out of left field choice for me. I really enjoyed this game. I had a great time when we played it, and I've played it since. I can see why it's so attractive, but it just doesn't... it's a good thing I'm not on the jury, because I would have never picked this for selection. in
Really?
3. Yeah. It's just... I don't know if there's enough meat there for me, maybe.
Right.
I enjoyed all the decisions that you guys are talking about. I love the maze aspect of it. And, and I've played it more than once, but I just don't know if it, for whatever reason, it doesn't have staying power for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, don't forget this is a category that like Quicks has been in, and like Via Paletti,
True.
and it's not. These games are not always necessarily like meat.
I guess I mean that I don't see it sticking with me 5 years
Right,
down the
right.
road,
Sure.
where I could see a possible building appreciation for Imhotep as we discover
No pun
more of
intended.
its strategies and depths, and Codenames being an evergreen game that you can play with lots of types of people.
Sure.
I have no criticisms on Karuba, but I just don't know if I see it sticking around in the same fashion.
Nikki P?
I really enjoyed Karuba. As a matter of fact, when we played it, I was like, okay, let's play again. Okay, let's play again.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't
Always
happen.
yeah.
Like immediately, let's set up and go. I play other games. I'm like, I want to play that again. I want to try a different strategy. But let's play something else and we'll come back to
Right,
it. But
right.
that one was like constant, like for an hour or something.
Right.
We kept redoing.
That's cool.
It's got the tiling.
Yeah. which is
So
interesting.
I'm
That's
a
like your sweet
sucker
spot.
for that. So, and the puzzly aspect that Rusty, I really like trying to figure out how can I get this to that temple in the least amount of tiles, and can I make one path spread for
Right.
others? And I love that puzzly idea of trying to make the best streamlined path.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Part of the reason you should play it again is it takes so long to set up that first game. Like everybody laying all their tiles out. If there are not already numbered
right.
in the bag,
Then you just go right back
It's
to
like,
it.
well, now we can just play it again.
Yeah.
All right. Moving from there to Codenames, back to you, Nikki P. Start us off.
Codenames is a lot of fun. I consider it more of like a party game than a game. I mean, it's still a game. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I've watched other people play it, and I've watched it at cons being played, and people come up and they watch, and they can enjoy watching the game, and they can guess too silently, of course. They could stand behind the clue givers and play quietly as a clue giver, like, oh, I would have said blah, 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 and
Right.
it would have gotten this and this and this. So, group, party, it's fun if you're not participating in it to sit and watch it. So that's great.
I would agree. It's actually it has, in a weird way, almost a game show aspect of it in that regard, in that you can actually watch other people play and sort of play along
Enjoy
with
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Lincoln, what do you think?
Well, this is a tough one for me. I love this game. I think all
Which
three
game?
choices, Codenames, speaking correctly, I think Codenames is my favorite of the three
Yeah.
that I most feel deserves it. But of course, this is from my perspective and everything else. But it is just so powerful. There's so much depth to what you learn, and I love the brain thing of how do I connect these together. It's the most stimulating game of all of them. Because when you come up with something really great to connect them,
It's very satisfying.
really
It's
satisfying.
very
It's
satisfying.
ridiculously satisfying, and it's
Not so much though when your partner misses your brilliant clue.
yeah.
Wait, what?
Goes
Sorry,
both
Rusty
ways.
seems to be rumbling over there.
But it's really amazing to me. I think that it's a tough year. It's a
Yeah.
really tough year.
All right, Rumbly.
Yeah.
Telepathy 3.
Yeah, really.
This game, it's creative.
Right.
And you don't have to be necessarily skilled in mechanics of other games. So
Right.
you have the ability to bring anyone, not
Right.
Eurogamers, everyone can get involved in this. And that's why I think it's such a great nomination.
Right.
It's something that you draw people in, you can play again over and over again, very much like Nikki was mentioning with Karuba. Codenames has that replayability because it's never going to be the same game twice, ever.
Absolutely.
And it's the people who make the game rather than the components.
Right.
Right.
So
Well, that could arguably be considered a flaw to the game, right? I mean, I wouldn't because I love it, but the knocks against the game, I think are I understand them, which is you can have a really bad set of words. You could go up against a team that's just smarter, let's say, for back of a letter
back of a letter word.
For back of a letter word. Not me, in other words.
You could play it with a pen and 50 index cards.
Yeah.
But
Right?
but the same thing is true of Time's Up. There are some people better and some people that are worse at Time's Up, and that game is still fun if you're into the experience and into the game, right? The same knocks that you can make on Codenames, you can make for a lot of party games, and that doesn't stop them, in my opinion, from being really good games. What did you think, Aaron?
This is where I constantly try to put myself in the mind of an SDJ juror member and then usually fail, but like if I'm on the jury, this is exactly the kind of game I'm looking for. It's a breakout in many different ways. You know, it's a 15-minute game that I've seen played 4, 6, 8 times in a row.
Yeah, and people can come in and out of the game.
Exactly. And you can play with 10 people or 12 people, and then 9 the next game and 6 the next game.
My actual favorite is 6. I like actually playing 1 giver and 2 guessers. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's just I sort of hinted at it already, but I feel like it's going to be long lasting and it's going to. I can't tell you how many conventions or game rooms or groups of people I've been in, and this game always gets broken out at the end of the night. There's always somebody ready to play this,
right?
And it attracts a big group, and people can come and go. Yeah. You know, stop in for 1 or 2 games or stay for the whole time.
Right.
It is like you're saying, it is very much about the players and not the components of the mechanics of the game.
Rusty said that.
Rusty said. But I think that's a strength too.
Yeah,
I think it just means that the game can,
The oddest thing about this one is it's a little mature for a family game. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but these guys rate it at 14 plus.
Yeah. And?
That's not what the SDJ, that isn't necessarily family friendly, right?
Oh, okay.
And I disagree. I think that kids can grow to, you put them up with a parent and you can see and grow into the game big time.
Right. But it is a language-based game, and the more skilled you are in language, in theory, the better off you are. But again, that's always in theory. I mean, some of it is just communicating stuff to your partner. Some of it is being able to find those connections. I know that there have been some people that the additional knock is the sort of downtime that can happen in the game, where you're waiting for someone to sort of try to find that connection. And again, it doesn't bother me because I understand. I've been on both sides of that, and there's nothing more frustrating than not even being able to find a decent 2.
Yeah. Right.
And you just don't want to give up right away for purposes of moving things forward.
Right.
But I totally get that. That can happen. Again, I don't care. This is such a sweet spot game for me. More than anything else, I look at this game and I think, why didn't I think of this game?
Yeah.
It's not even that hard just of an idea. And it's that idea has been out there for years and years and years, and Vlada just found it.
Right.
It's just
quickly,
so cool.
And it's one of those ones that you're like, how has this not been?
Happen already?
It's amazing.
And I think you're right, Nikki, that it is in a way a party game, but it's not. It can be played that way, but it can also be played as a game, and I think that's what makes it cool.
Okay.
As opposed to some party games that are just party games.
Well, I think of like the old classes like Pictionary and those party games.
All right, well, moving on to meatier stuff. Let's start over here, and Lincoln, start us off. Pick one that you like, and
wow, this is again another tough category. This is an amazing set of games. Well, let's start with Isle of Skye.
Okay.
Isle of Skye seems simpler on the surface, but man, determining value, and then concerning placement and all of that, because there's a lot to that. It's an amazing level of depth, actually, and I like that it's very quick for that type of game, where whenever you have to determine a value, it takes a while.
Right.
And this one actually is, I think in my game, I basically gave almost every single one the same value.
You did, I think.
This,
very
this,
close,
boom,
anyway,
I didn't want to put that much effort into it, and I wanted to make sure I had extra money, all the time. And I was able to do it, and I had things that people bought, so I got my money back and all that. And occasionally, I think one time I got dinged, but it's still pretty amazing. My biggest beef, which I said during the video, is I really think the art does a disservice to the game. It makes it difficult to see things, and I don't like that. It's terrible that that's even an issue, but I cannot see some of the animals and things on those mountain ranges.
Right.
It's not good.
Right.
And
if you're truly playing it, meaning you're trying to pay attention to
all the
whatever
tiles.
it has, not just the tiles, but what people have built
Yeah.
to figure out how to value your stuff.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm nearsighted, so it's difficult. I mean, it's doing a lot of this, shifting around, and that's frustrating because it's too bad because it hobbles the game.
Right. All right, well, the other person with the glasses.
Well, my actual complaints are almost identical to Lincoln's.
All right, well then we're done with you.
Yeah. It's I love the mechanic in there with the pricing. I love the ability to take something and go, wow, this is really powerful, and go, let's get that out of there.
Yeah.
You know, it brings a little control to you for what the market is for everyone else, but it also can come back against you. It's like, wait, I valued that too high. Now I'm out that money, and I'm having to deal with that tile. So I love that aspect of this. I love that there's that little risk you're taking, you know, too high, too low. I want this, but I really don't want them to have it, or I want them to have it.
Right.
And it's something I don't see in a lot of games where I can go both ways with this. It reminds me a little bit of Container, where I can put something out for auction, and if I don't get enough for it, it comes back to me. But in this case, I get to decide how much it is, and they get to say whether it comes back to me.
Right.
And it's like a combination of a lot of little mechanics that work really well together.
Yeah.
But not being able to see easily is the biggest thing. But
What do you think, Aaron?
I'm right in line with both of them, actually. Rusty mentioned most of the aspects of it, but I do think that that whole auction mechanic is brilliant.
Yes.
I really, really like it. And obviously the clarity on a few things could be better. I probably mentioned in our show, I almost feel like it wants like an iPad app, so that you can just clearly see like, oh, you know, this tile would be worth 5 points to Nikki and 3 points to Rusty and 1 point for me. So
but
now
then the game is playing itself.
a little bit, but I could sit there and stare around and look at everybody's board and figure out that information. I'm just saying it could be quicker to digest.
Let me use that as an in for a second, because this was not my favorite of the three, and for a completely different reason, which was I didn't enjoy that thinking, but I didn't hold that against the game. I just didn't enjoy that sort of calculation and thinking. But the thing that was cool about the game was I was able to play without doing that. Now, I didn't win, but I had played before doing that same thing, which is to say, I don't care about what everybody else really wants, other than the tile I threw away was like, if I wasn't in the ships battle and people were fighting for ships, or if I were in the ship battle and people were fighting for ships, I would throw the ship tile away just to not worry about it. But for the most part, I was like, nah, I really want this tile, so I'm going to price this high. And I don't care about this one, so I'll price it here. And if I gave something away, then so be it. Now, I won that first game that I played, and I lost the second one, and arguably I'll probably lose with that strategy more often than I'll win, but I was able to win with it, meaning I didn't have to spend too much time overly thinking, overanalyzing, figuring out what stuff was, and I was just able to kind of play a solitaire game in a way that was still fun for me, and that was kind of cool.
Doesn't that maybe tie into one of your first impressions of Imhotep, where you could be the person playing sloppily?
So I was
and
the guy
throwing
screwing the game for someone else.
If you're not pricing things with any regard whatsoever to whether they complete Lincoln's 14-point thing.
I tend to price everything too high anyway, so in that regard, I was never giving tiles away, right?
Understood.
What do you think, Nikki? But I know what you mean.
Just being the artist, I want to go back to that, and then I'm going to move on. The art is, if you look at it, if you're looking at it as art, it is some really cute illustrations. The sheep, it's cute. But from a game perspective, even just blowing up those sheep to be a little bigger, the legibility, and that's something I always look at when I look at games, is there's art, and then there's art for function, a purpose. And so I don't want to slam the artist, because when you really look at it, stuff's cute.
Yeah, I like it.
It's really cute.
It just doesn't pop like it needs to.
Yeah, an art direction or something where you need to keep in mind that this has to be legible from the other side of the table. It's an art form to specific designing a game.
Absolutely.
And so that's just, and I say that about all kinds of games.
Considering how important it is to see the stuff on the tiles, that's a problem.
Yeah.
What was that game? Was it Castle Merchants or what was
Imperial Settlers?
Imperial Settlers. Yes. Yeah.
Where's the teeny
I love how I
tiny
said
text
Castle Merchants and you knew I meant Imperial Settlers.
That was pretty
That
amazing.
was awesome. Yeah, that was the big problem for me with that game.
Couldn't read the cards.
The text is really small. The font is not just
gorgeous.
And you need to be able to
and the art's amazing.
And
It's such a gorgeous game.
Again, the art is beautiful, but for the function, it's supposed to be a game. It's supposed to be legible.
Right.
You need to keep that in mind when you, the artist, is creating it, or you, the graphic designer, is putting the numbers
Laying
on
it
there,
out, yeah.
putting the text on there,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Anyways, moving on.
Pick another game and tell us what you
Well, no, let her
liked.
finish.
No,
She
she's
just
still-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She was
I
done
didn't
with
want to
Skye.
just harp on
Okay.
on that one subject.
Sorry.
I enjoyed the game. It's a tile laying game.
I was going to say tile.
But
It's not really a tile laying game.
but
But
for
you're
her it
building
is,
your
yeah.
own
But for her it
tableau of
is,
tiles. Sure.
but and that's a big one.
Oh.
No, it has auctioning in it, which I'm not very good at. So that hampered me quite a bit. The rules to laying the tiles and what's going to score for you and what isn't was different from most tile laying games.
Right.
There were a couple of things in there where I didn't quite grasp. Oh, that's how that's very different from other tiling, numbering, scoring
right.
games I've played before. So I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing.
I think it's the reason that Out of the Sky is in this category, perhaps.
Yeah.
We're not over here with the...
Yeah, it's meatier.
Because
It's
at
a
first
little
blush, this
thinkier.
game feels like it wants to be
Yes.
over here.
Yeah,
Yes.
But when you look at all the
But as soon as you get
different
into that
moving
auction thing,
parts.
the auction and the tiling.
yeah.
I mean, it's a little trickier than your average.
Yeah.
Place the tile here and it's going to get me 2 points. At
because
least
there's
I
some-
felt
there's
that
some
way
major
about it.
limitations on the tiles.
Exactly. There's some really hampering going on there. So that did make it interesting.
Well, speaking of beautiful art,
Okay.
take us into Time Stories.
Time stories. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
legible. I like it. I like the board, that it's all modern and timey, and then you go to this, in this particular game that we played, you go back in time, and that time, the art for that time period is appropriate for that. It makes you kind of feel like you're there in 1928 or whatever it said it was. I like the story aspect of it, of course. And then for this particular one, the puzzle is fun.
Yeah.
I like the time units and the team play of it is really cool because you're not, yes, you're all going to the same room together, but then you're looking at different parts of the room, so you are a little separate in your thinking, and the whole describing of the cards, if the person
communication
isn't
aspect.
with
Yeah,
you, is
exactly.
really neat because
Yep.
someone could misinterpret something and then
Absolutely.
everybody's got that information wrong.
Absolutely.
So that's really neat. I really enjoy that. And I like the idea of different scenarios that could be, I don't know, they could do outer space, they could do aliens, they could do caveman times, they could do another planet somewhere else, they could do something completely in space, and it still would be wrapped up in this Time Stories
Right.
Right.
theme, which I think is really neat.
Absolutely.
What'd you think?
Time Stories is amazing. I was knocked out when I first played it, and I went to play it more. I mean, it's really, really great. It is an investment in time. It's more than I normally play in games. Mostly we play the longer games at conventions, and 4 hours is not terrible, but it is an investment, you
Right.
know, especially for us when we don't have a ton of time, you know, to always play games. But everything about it is gorgeous, you know. There's such a lot of great stuff going on. Aaron's concerns definitely apply to me too. You know, there are some things that are not great in that aspect of it, you know. You can continue from there.
Yeah, I loved playing it, and yeah, 3 to 4 hours is not a detriment to me. I love playing a
Right.
nice, long, meaty game, but I have a problem with the reusability of Time
Yes.
Stories. You know, I don't know if I want to pay $30 for a one-shot adventure that's over at that point. Does that? Am I not supporting the game company for their novel new concept if I
Right.
just want to play somebody else's copy every time?
Well, more importantly,
Or-
if you play somebody else's copy, you don't really need one for yourself now, right?
Yeah, but that's not really the point of the game industry who wants to sell me copies.
Well, but that
isn't
is
it?
the business model for this game. So, I mean, I think Space Cowboys and those guys, they knew what they were getting into with this game.
I guess so.
To them, I think it was just too cool of an idea not to do.
And I totally
And if
agree
they
with
found
that.
a big enough niche of an appreciation for it, which I think they have, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Seems like it.
Go ahead, Rusty.
Oh, I thought it was really tasty.
Okay.
Good Lord.
So
That'll mean nothing to people that haven't seen
I
it.
know. Well, that means that they got to go watch the episode. But a lot of the concerns that have been placed out here are my concerns as well about it. I enjoy the puzzly aspect of it, but I think the blind puzzly aspect of it, where I wasn't sure what it is I was supposed to be doing,
That was a problem.
That pulled me out of it a little bit. But I mean, not having played the other expansions on it, I could see different types of gameplay being enjoyable in it as well. You know,
Right.
the action type, the potential fighting type, survival type, other environments could be fun, and I think it's a really brilliant mechanic, a really brilliant framework that they've created, and the 4 hours or potentially more or less. Again, doesn't work for me in my normal gameplay, but I know plenty of people that this would be great for.
Right.
Yeah.
So, though I may not be the target for this, I see it as definitely something that.
Well,
could
and
be
you can
included
always
here.
play it with somebody. You know, I mean, it's not you don't have to buy it, right? You have to determine whether you want to. But I'm not bothered by the not knowing what to do so much.
Yeah, I love
for
that
me,
stuff.
it's like that's the whole point. I mean, that's if you get into the game, you don't know what you're doing. You're figuring it out. I do think it's funny that Bob is criticizing you when you get back to the center or the space station or whatever you're in. But the thing is it doesn't. It's just funny to me.
Well,
I actually like being like, what do we do? Do we make this choice here or not?
Look at it just from a straight up thematic point. I mean, look at it that way, right? You are sent back in time into these people, into a situation you know nothing about.
Right.
So you're just going to have to start exploring.
Yeah.
And if you were in that situation in reality, you would do nothing but stumble and make mistakes and find out wrong things and take dead ends. I mean, that is what the story is. So
Right.
I get your problems, but those problems are correctly thematic to the game for me.
Right.
Yeah? No?
Yeah.
I agree. I don't want to seem like I was
Down
totally
on it,
negative
yeah.
Oh, no,
on Time
Right.
Stories.
You didn't.
I really
You didn't to
did.
me. No more than you
think it's
usually
a-
are, you know.
I do think it's. I think it's groundbreaking. I've
Yeah.
said a couple times.
Yeah.
That is a novel concept. They've invented almost a new genre of game, and I think that this minimalistic, gorgeous box cover is one of the best I've ever seen.
It's really
I think it's
cool, right?
amazing. Yeah.
It's very inviting
And
because it doesn't really tell you anything, but at the same time, it's
I
sort of like,
really
what
look
is
forward
this?
to playing more of the expansions.
Yeah,
I
me
don't know
too.
that I look forward to buying them.
Right.
Yeah. And in all fairness, and maybe this is true for you guys as well, you know, my one full-time playthrough experience for this was at a convention where I have the time.
Right.
Not only that, it was at like 1:30 or 2 in
Oh,
the
yeah.
morning. So we were done at like 4 or 5 in the morning, but that was great. It somehow just was the right game for the right time in that moment. As opposed to for your Tuesday night game group or your Wednesday night game group pulling this out. I mean, I don't know that it is that kind of game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of an appointment. But you
It
know,
depends on that group.
but the same thing is true for like Arkham Horror or other games that are like that.
I like that appointment game though. It's true.
Descent,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to this convention. Who wants to play?
Yes.
Democker with me?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to play
Yeah.
Democker in your regular games group. Well, some people do.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
understand.
but yeah, exactly. Appointment game is the right term.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it feels like that to me. And
Moving on to the next appointment
talk
game.
about
Yeah.
talk about an annual appointment game, right? A monthly or a weekly appointment game. Pandemic Legacy. I will actually start. This is really cool. I love Pandemic and the various Pandemic, The Cure, and the other sort of pandemic games that came out. I played Risk Legacy once back in the day and sort of thought, oh, this is kind of intriguing. But I feel like this Pandemic is the right format for me for the Legacy. And
Right.
which is to say a co-op game as opposed to Risk, which isn't.
Right.
There's something cool about making group decisions about what permanent changes you're going to make. And there's something cool about, hey, are we going to get together next week and play Pandemic?
Right.
You know, I want to do the next thing. It almost forces you to play the game over and over again. That, again, could be considered a detriment. I think it's very, very cool. And I really like that about that game. I thought the legacy aspect grafted onto Pandemic was a perfect marriage of those two.
Absolutely. I mean, I was blown away. We were very early on the play testing for this. We just played it 3 times. I think it was into
Yeah.
February. We did January twice and then February. And I wanted to finish it. I do feel you need to dose it out a little bit more. We have played this
So to speak.
when we played it through. Yeah, exactly. When we played it all the way through, we did it in a relatively
Yeah.
short period of time, and
As opposed to like once a week.
It was over 2 weekends, and I love that. I loved the story reveals. Most everything feels cinematic or television based. Season 1 is totally appropriate.
Oh, interesting.
So
you binged basically. You binged.
We did
Yes,
binge
we
it.
binged
Yeah.
the
But,
whole
we,
season.
but
totally.
at the end of the final 3, we were kind of like, wow, I wish we would have waited
We were
one
a
more
little
weekend.
snippy at the end.
we just,
Maybe you caught something along the way.
exactly. But that doesn't
I
hurt
did.
it at all for me because I understood what we were doing. We were trying to get it done in a certain amount of time, and that's fine. It's amazing. It's the game that, as innovative as this game, this is as well. It's got such great potential as a theme. This is telling a story. I'm eager to see what they do next time. I mean, I know you guys don't know where that story goes, but wow, it's pretty amazing.
I played 1 month. That's all I
exactly. And you killed us. And
As
guys
Dave-
played before, you
as
know
Dave
better.
usually does in co-op.
Have we
Yeah,
ever survived
Hey.
a co-op game on this show?
Yeah.
Forbidden Desert,
Oh my
we
gosh.
died.
Yeah. No, we did.
Pandemic dice game, we
Didn't
died.
the Marvel superhero one? Didn't we by the skin of our teeth?
We've
didn't
won
we
a
get
couple,
by that
but not
one?
much.
I don't know.
All right.
we definitely lose on camera, which is hilarious. That's what I love. I actually
Well,
love
it's
losing the
oftentimes
games.
the first time we're playing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to win a co-op. Look, I
That's
think
true.
a well-designed co-op will kick your ass the first
Good
time.
point.
It should.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to. For me, you need to delve into it, and you should play Pandemic before playing this game. And they do tell you to just open
Right.
it up and play it as it is, and don't reveal any stuff if you have not played Pandemic.
Right, because
And-
you can play it as Pandemic.
Yeah,
which is
and
kind of cool.
it is different. It's slightly different. They've made some compartmentalization and stuff for the theme of the game as far as locations, but it is. I was so blown away by the original game, and the mechanism of the deck is just insanely great. It's so thematically linked to what you're playing. It's unreal. I've never seen anything actually that good, and it just played to even further extent with this game. It's pretty amazing.
What did you think, Rusty?
I myself, I've probably mentioned a couple times, not a huge co-op fan, but wow, this
Yeah.
one is really one of those that. Yes, I mean I was part of that binge group, and it after each game it was just like, no, just one more. It was like it was just hitting you to scratch an itch, and the reveals are just so like, oh wow, okay, that was very cool. And unlike the original Pandemic, which I had a couple of issues with, where you could get somebody that would be taking charge of the game, because this changed every month, every time you played, you didn't have anybody that could absolutely say, yes, this is absolutely the best path. Everybody now is having to deal with a new game each time. So it was Pandemic, but it was a new experience each time.
The scoring thing on this is interesting too, because there is a score for the way you've played the game when you're done. And the way you play the game, you have no idea what that is in the beginning, of course. But when you're done, you review it and you're like, holy cow, we could have certainly done a lot of things better. Some of your choices actually really affect that. And I think the scoring is an overlay that just lets you judge other people's plays. It's not really important, but it is pretty interesting. You're like, wow, okay, those things have a lot of effect on how well you do theoretically. And the game, you can't. I know that it's been broken by 2 players, a couple different people that are super smart with rules, and so they've done something where, and I'm speaking out of my hat because I don't know exactly what it was, but they broke it because something did not happen. But generally, the game makes sure that you get whatever you need to get in each round of play, whether you make it through January winning once or not. And that is pretty cool. So you'll open up different things. I don't know what happened. It's really odd that the 2 people that had that happen, they're very smart players. And so it's odd that happened to them. And, they mentioned it to Rob and Matt, so, they know what's going on. So maybe they'll fix that in the next one. I don't know how you would do that. But it might have been with characters that they chose and things like that. Because there's only 2 people.
Right.
You probably take more than one role when you play 2, though. I don't
That would
remember.
make sense.
You have not played this, so...
I have not, so I can't say too much about it, except that I think I'm very excited about the legacy idea, and I think that's a thing that's going to be around in games for years to come, and you're going to see it on all kinds of genres and games. But conversely, I'm not all that excited about Pandemic anymore. Yeah. So does that affect the enjoyment of the game for me? I'll find out someday. But you see what I'm saying? You know,
Right.
I think, in fact, I think this game is going to be rewarded for the groundbreaking nature of the legacy system and finding the first perfect game to put it on. But if the base game is not something you've enjoyed, or maybe I played it 40 times already and I don't necessarily want to play it.
It does
12 to
change
16
though, right?
more times.
You're
I understand
primed to
that.
jump right in, obviously.
I think you're.
But if
you're
the
well
base game
suited.
is very vanilla for me, I don't know if I want to.
I think
keep
you're well
going.
suited in a way because I think knowing the game, knowing the base game as well as you do, helps you sort of really enjoy and appreciate the legacy aspect of
Okay.
it more. What did you think, Nikki P?
I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
I like the stress that it created because it really, you know, it's skin in your teeth. It's, you know, it's a pandemic spreading across the earth. It's,
Yeah.
you know, which is not different than the original, but the way it changes in I'm not sure how much I can say.
Well, don't.
The way it changes in the legacy version is just really neat.
Yes.
And the parts and the pieces, and you open this door at this certain time, and you pull out these things.
It's kind of
And-
like Time Stories in that weird sense of there's storyline ahead that you don't know, and you know it's in the box.
Right.
And you don't know when you're going to get to it. You don't know even if you will get to it.
Right.
Right.
There's something kind of cool about that.
There's parts and neat little doodads in there
Yeah, it
that
helps
are,
it.
if you've not been spoiled on it, are a complete surprise to you when you open up the little box and all the stickers and everything. It's
Yeah.
just really
Relationships are really awesome in this game.
Really
You know,
neat.
There's you develop a relationship with another character, and you can continue to play that character. Like things happen to you. In the game that I played, I was a pilot, the old one, the original prototype, which was different. But I was a pilot who got scarred and was afraid to fly. And it was really hard because it ruined whatever my character's benefit was in a way. I don't remember exactly how that changed in this game. I might not have even played that. That was the dispatcher, maybe, is what the character was. I don't know.
But that is a good point, that your character can evolve
Exactly, with the
within
game.
these 12 months.
Yeah.
You're not that straight vanilla
Sure.
Marine
Roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
for the whole 12 months. There are
And you can
things
adopt-
that
'cause new
can
roles get
happen to
introduced,
you,
you know.
that alter the character, which is really neat in a game. I mean, think about like sitting there and playing these big long games, and your character is just your character for the whole
Yeah.
3
For the most
hours
part.
or whatever.
The cards usually, like in Arkham, you get cards that give you abilities and
Yeah,
stuff like
but
that.
I don't know.
It's almost like the game comes with 50 expansions in the box.
It does. It
Yeah.
really
Do you know what I mean?
does.
Yeah.
And every game you play is like the next expansion in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
never thought about till you just said it is the emotional aspect of when you're playing a co-op against the clock, let's metaphorically the clock here, there's that level of tension of, but there's an extra almost level of
Yeah.
physical tension because losing could also mean you have to like tear something to pieces. Like you have to physically destroy something. And that's different from we lost the game. That's like we lost the game and now I have to put a hole through this thing.
Well,
You're like,
yeah, I don't. It's nothing that horrible, but yes, you do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Though
it
there's
changes
that
the game.
little extra bonus aspect of it.
Do you think there's any consolation prize mentality here, like you mentioned with Phil Walker Harding not being rewarded for Cacao?
And then this one not
Didn't
winning.
Leacock miss out on
Yeah,
the original
well,
Pandemic?
Dominion was the winner that
Right.
year. Which
So
is,
do you think there's a little bit of now it's time
don't.
for him?
I also don't think.
I think
having
that's why this will win, though. Getting ahead of ourselves.
Maybe, but having spoken to the jury, and not all the guys were on the jury at the time that one happened, they don't care.
Okay.
They look at every game. Their thing is we don't give a who published it, we don't care who designed it, we don't care anything. They want to look at every game objectively and see what that game has to offer. They don't care.
Okay.
And so they do take into account, problems with rules. Then this one has some issues, and this one supposedly has
one?
some issues in the German game as well, slightly. I'm sorry, Time Stories and Pandemic Legacy.
Okay.
But these are much deeper games, so having something wrong with those
Right.
in the rules
It's
with the
not-
translation
not
is not. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it
Unprecedented,
just
yeah.
sucks that out of the box there might be an issue.
And they play them with different groups as well, right? Made up
Absolutely.
of different people, including probably a bunch of like casual gamers that aren't necessarily us.
Yeah, it's interesting
Well-
how they do all that stuff.
Like we found out, they go they go to these wherever.
Yeah, they give them to the games
and
without
they go,
explaining.
Here you go.
Figure it out.
Sit down, read the rules, blah, 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 figure it out. And so they really know if the rules are written well or not written well.
Right.
If they have to come over and teach the game, then there's a problem most likely. I'm sure they do some numbers or something to pay attention to that. But,
It's smart, actually, right?
It's an important part of, I believe, the process, because there are certainly some games that we have enjoyed, but it took some effort to figure out the rules.
We don't even know how to really play the Musketeers.
Musketeers
Musketeers
du
du
Roi.
Roi.
Yeah, that Anthony had to
tough
like.
rule
He
set.
loves
It's a
that
really
game and
tough rule set.
went through and now maybe the French version's better. The English rules have a real problem, and it's terrible because that's a great co-op game.
Yeah.
One
I
of my
sat down with
favorites.
those rules once, and after 10 minutes, I just thought, okay, I'll just wait for Anthony to explain it.
It's
They
ridiculous.
were really hard.
Yeah.
They were really, really hard.
And so there's definitely an importance to rules.
Well,
You
it
can't
makes
just
sense.
throw a game together and throw some rules in there and expect it to be okay.
But the rules are part of the award. I mean, in a sense, right? Because they're putting their sticker on it. They're saying, we approve of this game. And that sticker represents quality, and it represents a game that can be played in theory out of the box. And
Right.
if
Yeah.
you bought a Spiel des Jahres winning game and the rules sucked, you'd be like, who are these Spiel des Jahres guys?
No, it's part of their
Yeah,
their
totally.
reputation's on the line.
They're
for sure.
recommending everything about
Yeah.
it.
It's the importance of their award. I mean, they take that. Tom Filber, the chairman of the jury, is really serious about getting. There's no. They don't want to have any their authority questioned in any way. In other words, like they don't want to. They don't like to. Like we've tried to give them a game that they wanted. Somebody wanted. That's not even necessarily going to be judged as a jury thing, but they refuse to take it. They insist on paying. They don't want you giving them anything.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's weird though because as reviewers, don't they get the games?
Sure.
I'm not sure how that plays into effect, but still, I understand. They want the jury to be without,
It's what it was set up for, like what, 1979?
Yes,
or
I think
whatever?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a panel and it's a whole thing,
Right.
and arguably one of the reasons it became maybe such a big thing is because of that. Is because there was that.
Yeah,
For
the
lack of a
business,
better term,
they're
it's
not
the
on the
integrity
business
factor.
side.
Tightly
Exactly.
controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
System.
sticker can translate to sales. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Oh,
it's huge.
Yeah.
all right. Speaking of, well, not speaking of, no transition necessary. let's start here with our votes. Let's vote on first the game that we want to win.
Right.
So pick the game that you want to
On
win the
three?
award. On three.
Yep.
1, 2 point. You ready?
Yep.
All right. 1, 2 point.
Okay, we all.
Legacy.
Wow.
All right. Now pick the game that you think is going to win.
Oof.
You ready?
Oh boy.
One.
No.
Oh, ready?
I'm sorry, I'm holding up the show.
All right. 1, 2 point.
Wow. That is record unanimity.
Yeah.
Well, again.
And we all could be wrong.
Yeah, not that we're necessarily a high percentage of thing. I know it seems like a no-brainer to me. For one of the reasons you said earlier, which was that Pandemic was a great game and did not win.
And
I know you say that's not a factor, and it might not be a factor overall, but there might be one or two jury members that really like Pandemic and don't begrudge its loss to Dominion. Dominion was an amazing game.
But it's
Absolutely.
a genre classic now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even if you don't consider the fact that it didn't win to Dominion.
Yeah, it's still
That
an
it's
amazing
still an
game
amazing
in this.
game.
In
Yeah,
these three
correct.
games,
So-
it's ridiculous how they're all really good.
Yeah.
This one is the most traditional to me.
Yeah.
These are the ones that are the breaking outside of the box.
Yeah, this is 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
in that order for me. And the thing that I forgot to say that I really liked about Time Stories was that it's a co-op, but it's also not. There are some cooperative games where you are always making group decisions. And the thing that I liked about Time Stories was it's a co-op, but you're still doing your own thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something really neat about
Yeah.
that. That's a hard balance to strike. And I
Yeah.
thought they did a really good job. I just think this is too tricksy.
Right.
To win the award, for lack of a better term.
It's
Do you know what I
possible.
mean? All right. Moving over to this.
What are you going to say? You say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the other thing with some juror sitting in a room thinking, I really like Pandemic and blah, 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 called to mind that Pandemic was really the game that ushered in this whole co-op thing.
Yeah, that was a
From-
really
It
groundbreaking
was
co-op.
really, I don't recall very many,
Not
if
too many.
any,
Well, there were some, of course.
Okay,
plenty.
but-
yeah, but this is the
well,
one that kind of broke
That
it
broke
out.
it open. Yeah.
Of a game with a game board and
Right.
and that
Right.
sort of, it has a clear ending and
Right.
that sort of thing.
Right.
I think it's important
Because
to know.
Knizia is,
Lord of the Rings.
is co-op.
Yeah,
That was before
No,
that,
but
though,
it's,
Yeah, a long time before.
it's a whole different league.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel remotely.
Yeah.
like
Thematically, this is super. The original game is super rich, and this
Yeah.
one right along in there.
I just thought it kind of
Yeah.
I agree.
mentioning
Yeah, totally agree.
for newer gamers.
All right, so we're betting it all on Pandemic Legacy.
Yep.
In both. All right, moving over to this group over here. Codenames, Karuba, Imhotep.
This is
I
a
agree.
tougher category.
I agree. This is actually harder. Well, for you guys. For me, it's easy, but all right, we're voting for the one that we want to win,
Right.
which is to say what we would hope
vote.
what we
What we
hope
would vote for on the
what
jury.
we would vote for. What we hope to win. On 3, you ready? You ready?
This is so hard.
You ready?
Can I split my
No,
vote?
this is
Sure.
you already get a split.
Just put a
This is
glove.
what you want.
If you put a glove on one of your hands, then we won't know whose
Who
finger
the sixth
is.
hand?
I want 2 of them.
Then too bad. This is it.
You ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, point. All right.
right.
4 Codenames and 1 Karuba. This is the one you want to win.
Want to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were saying,
Aldi feels he wants this to win. He thinks that one's going to win.
Okay.
all right,
Yeah.
well, let's see what we think is
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
win.
From
Our
the jurors'
prediction
Yeah, this is what we
perspective.
think the jury will pick.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is actually harder for me.
I agree.
Because it really could be Karuba.
Could be any of these 3.
All right.
I think all 3 have something.
I'm going to
to
vote with my heart and lose again. Here we go.
Yeah.
You ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, Nick.
Four
Oh,
Codenames and
changed.
Nikki switched. Which
Nikki
one are you voting
agrees
for?
with-
Nikki's
I'm
voting
voting for Karuba.
So we still split 4 and 1 each time.
Interesting.
And Aldi picks one or the other.
Well,
It-
he wants Codenames when he thinks
that'll win.
Codenames is
Okay.
going to get it.
So Nikki and
But I
Aldi.
think
Karuba,
any
yeah.
3 of these can win.
agree.
Absolutely. They're all.
I've never been so locked in.
Yeah,
I've
me
never been
too.
so sure.
But like
It's
I
like
said,
Pandemic Legacy Codenames.
That's it. That's it.
well,
for me.
that was what Mark, who is not here unfortunately, he said. Too bad for the other games. He felt these were the ones. This one, but like I said, watching this and playing this one,
Yeah.
it has grown a lot on me. It's really powerful.
Well,
but
I think it can continue to do that.
But I think this is.
here's what might be interesting.
I think Codenames is really like the one that, should, in my opinion, should
This has
win.
been on Brit Spiel for like 2 weeks now.
Right.
And the votes are not technically in.
Right.
I wonder if that could have any factor whatsoever of the ability to, for some
To
of the jury
reach
members,
people.
just play it online at home with other people. I mean, I don't know. What's interesting, and I think this is true of the last couple of years we've done this, is it's always a good mix of games, and yet there's always a distinctive third place game.
Yeah.
I feel like these 2 got no votes, and that's not a slam against the games, but
I almost switched my.
Did you?
I think this should win vote to this. Just
Really?
because there's things I really. Maybe I think I'm the one who likes this the most out of the whole group.
I really like
because
it.
it's not a co-op.
But he hasn't played this one either.
That's
so he's
true.
kind of judging it. He's judging it from
Yeah,
his
I'm really
love of
judging the
perspective.
concept.
Exactly.
All right,
Just
now
concept
let's
on
point to the GameNight member you think is the most accurate with their predictions.
Ugh.
Just kidding.
That's terrible. We're terrible.
That would be Mark anyway.
It is
I think
Mark.
Mark
He's not
is-
here.
Mark,
Yeah.
We should
yeah.
just listen to him more often. All right, guys. Well, that's all 6 games, and we'll see what the jury thinks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave.